The Old English rune poem, its place in the English language, past, present, and future. What is the Old English rune poem? A collection of 29 poetic stanzas written in Old English, covering 29 of the runes. In some cases there are 16, in some there are 33 or 24. 24 is the oldest number, but it varies, and it's a wider variety because languages are fluid like that. It was the pre-conversion script in Europe, used both phonetically and pictographically. The debates on its origin range widely, from developing from a Roman script or a Greek script or an Etruscan script to coming from a Phoenician script. It correlates to eras in time that have to do with the megalithic cultures that were seafaring, and it's hard to allocate their original location. The north of Europe, Atlantis, a Vinca script. Jan Fries lists several possibilities in Helrunar and concludes that none of them are conclusive. It's a very exhaustive and intensive book if you're interested in the subject and the history of it. It's not... It's a very unique book when it comes to practices. That's not what most people are like in their practice, and that's partly why it's so useful and interesting. But for history, he's very exhaustive, so very good. Let's see, and that'll be in my resource list. Other versions. So it's important to note that the rune poem exists. There is a rune poem, just like you would have a Mother Goose tale, just like there's different versions of different fairy tales. You have different versions of the rune poem in different cultures. There's a Norse one and an Icelandic one that we've been able to keep track of. The versions that were saved on paper in Latinate script have 16 runes, which is what came later, although both of those cultures have an original 24. That's only interesting if you're interested in the particular language. But this is about the Old English rune poem. And a time when people were forgetting certain things and trying to remember others. And by comparing these different versions and different places that were Christianized at different times, both diachronously, synchronously, asynchronously, you can develop a progression of how things became a certain way. So the first stanza, I'm just going to focus on the first stanza, Fehu. Fehu bith frofer fyra gewelkom, skell dea manna gewelk miklenheid delen, gefil while for dreitna doms geloten. I might have butchered that, and I'm sorry. 4 modern versions. I'm just going to read really quickly. And that original version is this widely dispersed 1705 copy. So it was in an era when there was modern English, but it was preserved in Old English. So I'm just going to read one version of the 4 modern versions. Wealth offers comfort for all. Each would deal it out freely who wished to cast lots if he hoped for honor in the sight of the gods. So that summarizes what you see on the screen. With each one has a very minor difference. Some of the lexical differences. What are the meaning of the words? The lexicon. Comfort, very much welcomed. Bestow versus deal or share. Wish to versus want to or hope to. And honor versus approval or judgment. With comfort and welcome, we have something that is helpful, welcome is connected with the coming, like it's coming in and it's going out, and so that does correlate to the flowing essence of Fehu and the original meaning of it, or what we've surmised is the original meaning of it. But it's focusing on an acceptable and like you can come in, versus comfort includes other definitions like strengthening and encouragement, incitement, aid, support. These aspects are closer to the definition of Fehu and more important to its meaning. So, we could go back and look just again. Almost everyone picked comfort. But then in other ways, I would say that the more correlate, the more accurate version, Paxson actually is the one who's accurate later on in the poem. So it varies, it really does vary a great deal from translator to translator, which is something I think we learned a lot through Crystal. So with the next lexical difference, bestow, deal, and share. Deal is about dividing, share is about cutting it off and apportioning, bestow is about giving. And deal, for me, has this correlation to casting lots, rolling dice, playing with cards, which correlates to the runes themselves and to finding your fortune. So that's why I would pick that one. But generally speaking, there isn't really a correlate here. Then we have want, hope, and wish. Each is want. Built into want is a lacking and a need. Hope, it's an expectation is built into it. The future, it's a future looking. Wish is the purest form, I would say, in this case, to have a feel or a wish for, to desire. So I tried to use wish as much as possible, but keep mixing it up. Honor, approval, and judgment. Great respect, esteem, reverence. Honor is something that you can share between equals as much as you can share between an authority figure and a non-authority figure. Whereas approval and judgment have this sense of authority built into it. And considering that we're in 2019, I choose to use the word honor. Grammatical differences between the four. So provides versus is a versus be all. So really it's just provides versus like beingness. And the nuance of provides. And then more importantly, but you must, each man shall, though every man ought, yet must every man. These are all they're the same thoughts, just different particulars. But though, yet, it has this, it could go either way, and it's in this future. And though it's a softer version of but to me. That's just my feeling on it, and that's why it's a poetic difference. That's why it's called poetic license. Shall just seems more biblical, but it can be most useful. Really quick, this goes into something that's relevant to the topic itself of runes and of sacred languages in general. In the original, there are 6 F sounds which correlate to the letter F, Fehu, the letter that is being taught here. In Mountfort, he has 3, Paxson 3, Gundarsson 4, Rhys 4. The version that I read to you has 6. That's my version. Role of runes in culture and practice today. The runes are still used today to write modern English words in place of the Latin alphabet. People use it for branding initials, names, seals, maker's mark, jewelry design, decorating tools, and trinkets, both spiritual and mundane, just for fun. Either way. If you look on Etsy, I'm sure you'll find something. Spiritual study into the runes as an ancient system of magical practice, divination, and storytelling from all along the different spectrum of really reconstructionists trying to get what was lost from before to just incorporating into a really free-form version of spirituality today, which leads me to the reinvigoration of the runes, because we're piecing things together, and because, as you've seen through English history, what it's like trying to put together a language that there already is so much it's barely anything. Imagine what it's like with a language that wasn't really recorded and kept. So you have to put things together in a whole new way that synthesizes as many perspectives as possible so that you can really crack that code. And it's far older than tarot. It's been treated this way for a lot longer by the general public and by the scholarship than pretty much any language in Europe itself, because it was there before. Other stuff came in and was treated that way. But unlike Latin itself, like the Latinate language, there was never this system to say that a phoneme has this essence correlating to the mystery of the universe. But the runes had that. And other systems do too. It's just one system. Systems are flexible. That's really important. And that's the note that I want to end on. So happy lives to you if I don't see you guys in another class. And I'm going to be teaching a class on the runes, so you'll find me through this YouTube channel if you watch my thing. That's cool. Fusion of those two realities. So, later, people.